somehow. That I will achieve, because I do the things I should, between my brethren kind and good. So I'll keep moving on, I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on till I reach the top somehow.
Yes, my Straight Talk family, it's time to bid you a very pleasant night wherever you are in St. Kitts and Nevis and or throughout the entire Caribbean region. To my Straight Talk family in the Kittitian and Nevisian diaspora, I say greetings to all who are logged on to the World Wide Web. I know that some of you are in Africa, there are some of you in Asia, there are a whole lot of you all over North America. So I'm at liberty to say good night. I can't say good morning, and I will say good afternoon, because one of such greetings would be applicable to the region in which you now find yourselves. And my Straight Talk family, I want to apologize first of all for not being able to communicate with you on Monday last due to some technical difficulties that I experienced here on or with the internet. And I want you to also be aware that some fake news have been peddled on Facebook and other social media about some issues that Straight Talk is experienced, some issues that don't exist, as a matter of fact. And I want you to ignore the fake news, because I think we are now in a new dispensation and the country ought to settle down. And I am aware that those in office, especially the leader, is one who is a strong proponent. I can say I vouch for him, because I've seen him even in the one-man demonstration. I can vouch for him as one who promotes our fundamental rights and freedoms, and one such is freedom of expression. And my Straight Talk family, you know, I mentioned earlier as well, or before at some time, that since adult suffrage in 1952 here in St. Kitts and Nevis and Anguilla, at the time we were one state, and we have had many important elections. Obviously, I did not participate or witness in all of them, but to those which I did, to me, there was none as important as the last election gone there on Friday, August the 6th of this year. The COVID-19 pandemic as well has been with us for the past 3 years. But because of good management, it is now under control, I dare say.
This particular ship during this turbulent time of COVID-19 is nothing short of miraculous. Everything paid up. Everybody paid. Stimulus to try and help those who needed it most. Our country is in good hands. Our country is an important country, punching well above its weight. Let us be proud of our country because our country has done well.
Then, my Straight Dog family, the latest situation report, nonetheless, tells us that we must remain vigilant and we cannot afford to be too laid back. Neither can we afford to joke with the health of our people. However, as Russia's invasion of Ukraine continues and the war rages on, there is still concern over rising energy costs and the impact on consumers, or consumer spending, I should say, right here in St. Kitts and Nevis. Just yesterday, the Ministry of Finance advised that as of today, 11th August, the retail prices for unleaded gasoline at Delta gas stations will be $18.03 and at Sol $17.03 per gallon. Now, just like in Europe and other parts of the world, supply chains are also of concern. But here in the Federation, it's the possible economic hardship that ought to bother us most, because there is an uncertain crisis that looms over all of our countries. Through it all, though, the people have spoken, and the majority has clearly said, hell no to real unity with PAM and CCM, and instead they are going back to Labour. Congratulations are therefore in order for the fourth Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, Dr. Terence Michael Drew. Straight Talk will also congratulate his winning team, and we must as well commiserate with those who have lost. Now, one of the realities of life and politics is that there always will be a winner and a loser. It is said that the shilling has two sides, or there are two sides to a coin, and we surely cannot win them all. For winners in particular, though, I refer you to the words of Rwandan author Bangambiki Habyarimana, who in his book The Pearls of Unity, or The Pearls of Eternity, beg your pardon, admonishes all who may read that success in life is not for those who run fast, but for those who keep running and are always on the move. It was ancient Greek philosopher and scientist Aristotle, one of the greatest thinkers ever in politics, psychology, and ethics, who opined that in a democracy, the poor will have more power. The election of August 5th should have also reminded us that in a democracy, the poor will have more power than the rich. The election of August 5th should have reminded us as well that the will of the majority is supreme. In St. Kitts and Nevis, there are more poor people than rich ones. In St. Kitts and Nevis, my Straight Talk family, there are more people lacking sufficient money to live at a standard considered comfortable or normal. Some are too poor to handle the cost of electricity and water. Some are too poor to cope with the high cost of living. So many lack an income source to buy food and or pay their rent. So the government was forced to introduce social assistance programs like PAP. Poverty, it is said, is the mother of crime, and the Peace Initiative is one program that has yielded much benefit and stability in the Federation. There are many cases where people not only find themselves in the state of having an income that is below the line of poverty, creating the inability for them to sustain a specified level of well-being. These are just some of the serious challenges that lie ahead. And suffice to add, the gap between the rich and the poor has widened. Again, I say that the people have spoken loud and clear. Recall in 2015, the people called for a united group to lead our federation. Unfortunately, some politicians misuse the wishes of the people as a means to an end like this one, my Street Talk family.
When I decided to support the efforts of to get rid of Denzil Douglas, we succeeded. I took that decision also because of the opportunity to change the political culture of St. Kitts and Nevis and to end the political polarization which has plagued us. I decided to support the efforts of the Team Unity Alliance. I did so in order to get rid of Denzil Douglas. We succeeded. I took that decision also because of the opportunity to change the political culture of St. Kitts and Nevis and to end the political polarization which has plagued us.
And that's what I call a means to an end. Another one confessed that he spent his life fighting Labour.
In my own country, I've spent a political career fighting against the St. Kitts and Nevis Labour Party. In my own country, I've spent a political career fighting against the St. Kitts and Nevis Labour Party.
However, my people, as I said, the people have spoken. And Denzil Douglas most certainly got the last laugh in local parlance, my Straight Talk family.
This is what you have been waiting for. Make sure you cast your X for Labour, for the hand. Labour's hand. Mark your X and bring victory and freedom at last. God bless you! God bless you! This might be my final speech on the platform. God bless all of you, my dear people.
Yes, my Straight Talk family, DLD must have had the last laugh. For some politicians, Team Unity was just a vehicle of convenience to get them into the halls of power, and this had to be improper and or immoral. For 5 years, they pretended that all was well, but two of the leaders took unprecedented action to collapse the Team Unity government. It culminated when Sean Richards rode on horse on nomination day and brought back saddened memories from those plantocracy days. It reminded many of us that the PAM party originated from the ruling social class, which was made up of plantation owners. Yes, his horseback journey to his nomination reminded all and sundry that PAM's origin in 1966 was just a replacement of the white plantocracy with a native one. So the people have spoken. Most people who voted have said that the group that formed Team Unity must now be relegated to the official opposition in the National Assembly. The team unity administration succeeded, one will agree, in isolating the Douglas Labour Party for 7 years. But now, the people have spoken, have sent them all to the opposition. It cannot be disputed, however, that the leader of the team unity administration helped many people to get where they wanted to go by providing them with the opportunity to get there. The way that the economy was handled over the past 7 years was genius. The introduction of PAP and the Peace Initiative was genius. The management of the COVID-19 pandemic was the action of a genius. Grasping the opportunity and effecting real change in the country was also genius of leadership by Dr. Timothy Harris. But the people have spoken and have now elected new leadership. On Saturday, 6th of August 2022, Dr. Terence Michael Drew was sworn in as the 4th Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis. Justice Trevor Ward first administered the oath of allegiance to the newly elected Prime Minister.
The oath of office.
Michael Drew,
Do swear that I will honor, uphold and preserve the Constitution of St. Christopher and Nevis,
the Constitution of St. Christopher and Nevis,
and the law. That I will conscientiously, impartially, and to the best
of my ability,
discharge my duties as Prime Minister of the Federation of St. Christopher and Nevis,
as Prime Minister of the Federation of St. Christopher and Nevis,
and do right to all manner of people, without fear or favor, affection or ill will. So help me God. I, Dr. Terence Michael Drew, do swear that I will faithfully bear true allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. Do swear that I will faithfully bear true allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, her heirs and successors, according to law. So help me God.
In the event I got that mixed up, Justice Trevor Ward, beg your pardon, administered firstly the oath of allegiance, followed by the oath of office, which was followed by the oath of secrecy.
So I will now administer the oath of secrecy. I, Dr. Terence Michael Drew, do swear that I will not on any account,
That I will not, on any account,
at any time whatsoever, disclose any counsel, advice, opinion or vote given by any minister of the cabinet, and that I will not, except with the authority of the cabinet, and to such extent as may be required, for the proper conduct of the government, of St. Christopher and Nevis, directly or indirectly, reveal the business or proceedings of the cabinet, or any matter coming to my knowledge, as a member of the cabinet. So help me God.
Now, my straight talk family, I am not afraid to state that I have gone on record and have said that I love Dr. Drew. I sang at his wedding. His father, Mick Stokes, is my friend. But I did not believe that he had the experience to lead the Federation at this time. But how Dr. Drew became Prime Minister and the Labour Party revived is very interesting as a story that we'll follow tonight. Dr. Drew contested the elections of 2015 and 2020 and lost on both occasions to Eugene Hamilton. But in his third election bid in 2022, the people have spoken. And he's now ascended to the Prime Ministership of St. Kitts and Nevis. Upon reflection, I have therefore recognized that many people are rejected for a position simply because they are lacking in experience. While I agree that experience matters, I ask myself though, how does one get experience if he or she is not given an opportunity to get the necessary exposure? Well, the people have spoken, and for that reason, I believe that the Federation must now give Prime Minister Drew some time for him to get the necessary exposure. In the process, however, he must consider the golden opportunity given to him to first unite and not to divide the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. He must tell his supporters that there's no need to be angry, there's no need to be provocative and in a mood to fight. Instead, they must rejoice and savor in, enjoy the victory for now, because lots of challenges lie ahead. He must find workable solutions for our country that is experiencing high gas prices and inflation. He must promote self-reliance and less dependence on government. Dr. the Honorable Terence Michael Drew, in his maiden speech as Prime Minister, amongst other things, he committed to extend the hand to Nevis and to solve and resolve some of these issues facing our sister island.
I vow to extend a hand to the island, Nevis, so that whatever issues there are, that we can solve and resolve to bring our federation ever closer together. I vow to extend a hand much closely to our sister island, Nevis, so that whatever issues there are, that we can solve and resolve to bring our federation ever closer together.
Yes, bringing our federation ever closer together. Truth be told, that is easier said than done, because Nevis under Mark Brantley looks to St. Kitts each month for a handout, instead of ensuring the Nevis Island administration gets a hand up. Now, Nevis must get a fair share, yes, but Prime Minister Drew must never capitulate to Premier Mark Brantley's cockeyed view about CBI not being tax revenue. The CBI is non-tax revenue, yes, but revenue is revenue. Tax revenue or non-tax revenue that goes into the consolidated fund is revenue, and both are just economic classifications. So Mark Brantley's proposition about CBI not being tax revenue borders on absurdity. It is downright silly, to say so respectfully. The NIA under Mark Brantley cannot pay its bills because he cannot manage. So he brings this spurious, nonsensical argument about not getting his fair share of the CBI revenue. Again, revenue is revenue. This is how he budgets, to give you a clear example of how he operates there across the water.
The expenditure budget for the upcoming fiscal year we are prepared to project that we shall collect the amount of $131.4 million in recurrent revenue. We expect our recurrent revenue to be augmented by the remittance of at least $45 million from the federal government in respect of a share of revenue under the CBI program.
And yes, my Straight Talk family, the Nevis Island administration, from his own account, has a 53 million, beg your pardon, budget deficit for this fiscal year. So Nevisions must be very anxious since the change of government. Brantley can't pay civil service salaries without the federal grant. And that is news that everyone ought to know.
I asked Pierce, could you give me the salary, pension, and wages bill for the government of Nevis each month? And he sent it to me, $8,009,489.60. That's how much Nevis has to find each month to satisfy its public servants and its pensioners. When you multiply that by 12, our wage bill alone is $96,113,875.20. Let's just round it off, and let's say $96 million a year. You multiply that by 7 years, $672 million. But over the same 7 years, you spend $672 million in wages. Then you have not even got enough to cover your basic wage bill.
Brantley hires as he likes in Nevis, but is demanding that their salaries come from St. Kitts. Thanks to Mark Brantley, many divisions are living on edge today. Mark Brantley was expecting to be called upon to join with a party that didn't win. According to him, real unity. But Labour does not need Mark Brantley. The premature election triggered by PAM and CCM is the worst possible outcome for Brantley. Now, Prime Minister Drew must deal with Nevis in accordance with the letter of our supreme law, which is our constitution. And he must do so in the strictest sense and not through political patronage. Drew must make no mistake. Prime Minister Drew must be guided by the Constitution, and Section 110, Section 110 is pellucid. As my friend would say, it is pellucidly clear. And Section 110 deals with revenue allocation. And it reads, and I quote, subsection 1, subject to subsection 2, the proceeds of all taxes collected in St. Christopher and Nevis under any law shall be shared between the government and the administration, and the share of each shall be determined by reference to the proportion between the population of the island of St. Christopher and the population of St. Christopher and Nevis as a whole, as the case may be, the population of the island of Nevis and the population of St. Christopher and Nevis as a whole, as ascertained by references to the latest available results of a census of those populations carried out in pursuance of a law enacted by Parliament. Subsection 2. The share of the administration under subsection 1 shall be subject to the following deductions. A contribution to the cost of common services provided for St. Christopher and Nevis by the government, and B, a contribution to the cost of meeting the debt charges for which the government is responsible under section 75, beg your pardon. Subsection 3. The Governor General may make rules for the purpose of giving effect to the provisions of this section, and without prejudice to the generality of the foregoing power, any such rules may make provisions A. for prescribing what services are to be regarded as common services, B. for determining the contributions to be made by the administration in relation to any common service so prescribed, and C. for determining the contributions to be made by the administration in respect of the debt charges which the government is responsible, and D. for prescribing the time at which and the manner in which calculations and payments, including provisional payments, are to be made. And finally, it speaks to the powers of the Governor General under subsection 3, which shall be exercised by him or her on the advice of the Prime Minister, but no such advice shall be given without the concurrence of the Premier. As for the People's Action Movement, they are now outside of the tent, and it must feel better under the tent than outside the tent. Sean Richards have displaced these stalwarts who prominently control the many statutory boards from 2015 up until 2022 elections just held. PAM controlled the NHC board, the Social Security board, SCASPA board, the Urban Development Corporation board, the National Bank board, the National Insurance board, the Tourism Authority, and the SCELEC board. PAM stalwarts also control the Cable board, the Frigate Bay Development Corporation board, the SIDF, the Solid Waste Management board, the CFB College Board of Governors, and Carnival Committee, to name just a few. PAM dominated all those boards and salaries provided by them. PAM got rid of Harris, yes, but it also got all of these statutory board memberships, which they have handed on a platter to Labour, who they brought back to life. People lost trust in Team Unity with PAM and CCM, and that is how it panned out, my straight dog family. People lost trust in unity with PAM and CCM.
The Labour Party is back in power after voters voted overwhelmingly for the party this time around.
I think the party presented a certain sense of newness. It presented stability. It presented unity within its structure. And when we look on the other side, we recognize that they had disintegrated and people had lost trust in them.
But interesting times lie ahead. A friend of mine sent me this message, and I thought that I will share its content with you. The NIA received $5.5 million in federal grant last month, part of the agreed $66 million per year. Will they get it this month? Is a question to be asked. If not, how will Brantley pay his salaries? He continued, I remember when Prime Minister Harris gave the NIA the first $10 million in May 2015. Leader of the opposition objected vehemently in Parliament and said that there should be an inquiry. I really wonder what they will tell Mark Brantley now. What did Labour's manifesto say about Nevis? Mark demanded $66 million a year for federal grant from Timothy. That's $5.5 million per month. And it was being paid by Timothy Harris's government. Mark decided to get rid of Harris. They say be careful what you wish for, because you might get it. It was all triggered by Mark. Do you remember the Aesop's fable of the dog and the bone? Mark and Sean thought that without Timothy, they could still have 7 seats between them. Well, 3 plus 1 is not 7, but only 4, which is enough to give themselves the boot. PAM gave up 3 of the 4 seats, and Labour has said thank you very much, since you do not want them. A big Labour friend sent me this message that I will also share with you. We will have an inquiry on the Harris government that will tell us how much money was left in the treasury. I believe that Harris will welcome such an inquiry and would have nothing to hide. The question is, can Labour match his performance in managing the economy? An inquiry will reveal that Harris has left a record that will be hard to match. Are they going to inquire into how Harris paid the 4 consecutive double salaries at Christmas while not raising taxes? A CCM friend wrote me as well, and I replied, quote, "You said CCM regained all 3 seats, but please remember, the 3 elected representatives all used to get a federal salary and federal ministerial allowances for travel, entertainment, for the constituency and the works. That has gone. They all had federal ministries with an annual budget paid by the federal government. Mark used to travel all over the world as Minister of Foreign Affairs. That has gone. They were a part of the federal government, members of the federal cabinet, making federal decisions. That too has gone. Mark could write Timothy and say he wanted an increase in the federal grant, which he did twice and got it because he had leverage in the government. That has gone. They were inside seated at the dinner table, but now they are outside in the cold looking in. It must be better under the tent. The people have spoken loudly and clearly. They have said that we do not need any more vagabonds in government, like Lindsey Graham and or Jonel Powell. This election has reminded all of us of the words from the good book of Isaiah that goes something like this. When we have finished destroying, we will be destroyed. And when we have finished betraying, we will be betrayed. My good friend Bractus summed it up in this way, that it's worth listening to, my Straight Dog family.
Woe be unto those woe be unto those who destroy immunity. Woe be unto those who destroy immunity.
My Straight Dog family, that's my story for tonight, and I am not going to change it. Again, I say congratulations to the new Prime Minister, Terence Michael Drew, and his cabinet to be sorted. There will be many discussions as time progresses. Again, that's my story for tonight, and I am not going to change it. I am going to open the lines and entertain your calls and entertain your emails, because there's no Straight Talk without you. Again, the numbers are 846, my Straight Dog family. The numbers are 846 or 646-829-6672 or 869-663-6672. You may not be hearing me on ZIZ because freedom of expression is not something we expect in this new dispensation. But that doesn't matter. Share the link to your friends who have a smartphone or smart TV. And the numbers are still accessible via this medium, this broadcast. Again, if you're in the local area, just dial 663-6672. If you are in North America and beyond, 646-829-6672. Again, the people have spoken. The people have spoken, my Straight Dog family. And I understand that I'm now just only online. But never mind, my Straight Talk family. We will continue our discussion. We will continue our discussion because, you see, the people have spoken and we will continue to speak as well. As we speak, we will reflect. We will reflect on the poor. We will reflect on those who have to face the realities. And the realities must be faced because, as I said, COVID-19 pandemic was with us or is still with us after 3 years. And because of the good management, it is now under control. It is now under control, my Straight Dog family. I am smiling for obvious reasons.
Leadership has been stellar. This is a fight for our very lives. Not only for our livelihoods, but for our lives. And what I'm calling the genius of the Prime Minister as Minister of Finance, because to navigate this ship, to navigate this particular ship during this turbulent time of COVID-19 is nothing short of miraculous. Everything paid up. Everybody paid. Stimulus to try and help those who needed it most. Our country is in good hands. Our country is an important country, punching well above its weight. Let us be proud of our country because our country has done well.
Yes, my Straight Dog family. And you know, there are some people who would pretend when they're in opposition that they support our fundamental rights and freedoms. And the Constitution guarantees such fundamental rights and freedoms. And one of such rights is the right, or one of such freedoms is the freedom of expression. And yes, I understand that they have cut your Straight Talk program, but never mind. Straight Talk will not be silenced. Straight Talk will not be silenced. Because Straight Talk will be always on the air. Whether it is ZIZ or wherever, if it's Facebook or whether it's YouTube, Straight Talk will reach you somewhere. Those of you who have your smartphones, pick it up. Once you're on the Wi-Fi, just enter Straight Talk on Facebook, or Straight Talk with Ian Patches Liburd on Facebook and or YouTube. But we will continue to reach to you. I spoke to you of the latest situation and in terms of the COVID-19 situation in St. Kitts and Nevis. Yes, I know there are some different views on what should and should not be done. But I only want to implore you, my family, that we must remain vigilant. And we cannot afford to be laid back. Neither can we afford to joke with the health of our people. But we just have to understand that we need to stay safe, we need to protect ourselves at all times. There are going to be many challenges ahead because we are living in a world that's filled with unpredictability. We are living in a world that's filled with complexity, and we live in a world that's filled with uncertainty. So when the fun and dance is over, we have to face the reality. One such reality is the ongoing war or Russian invasion of Ukraine. And that has derived high energy costs, continuing rising energy costs, and the impact on consumer consumer spending all over the world, including St. Kitts and Nevis. Just yesterday I mentioned earlier that as of the 11th of August, which is today, the retail prices for unleaded gasoline at Delta gas stations will be $18.03 per gallon and $17.03 at Sol. When I was there recently, it reached to almost $20 per gallon. What is the solution to these high gas prices? What it is? We have to become self-sufficient in many ways. Just like Europe and other parts of the world, supply chains are also of concern. Herein demands greater self-sufficiency in the Federation. It's the possible economic hardship that should bother us most of all, because there is an uncertain crisis that looms over all the countries of the world. Through it though, we had an election last week and the people have spoken, and the majority has clearly said hell no to what was being paraded as real unity with the People's Action Movement and the Concerned Citizens Movement. And instead, they have gone back to Labour. And truth be told, congratulations are therefore in order for the fourth Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, Dr. Terence Michael Drew. We must also congratulate his winning team, and we must also commiserate with all those who have lost. We will do post-mortem after post-mortem and try to establish what went wrong and when. But one of the realities in life and in politics, I repeat, is that there always will be a winner and a loser. It is said that the shilling has two sides, or there are two sides to one coin, and we surely cannot win them all. My family, for the winners in particular, I refer you to the words of Rwandan author Bangambiki Habyarimana, who in his book, The Pearls of Eternity, he admonished all of us, that success in life is not for those who run fast, but for those who keep running and are always on the move. Ancient Greek philosopher and scientist Aristotle, one of the greatest thinkers ever in politics, psychology, and ethics, he opined that in a democracy, the poor will have no more. The poor will have more power, beg your pardon. Ancient Greek philosopher and scientist Aristotle opined that in a democracy, the poor will have more power. But for those of you who lost, I want to really implore you to understand that there is no such thing as failure in life. Failure is just trying to move us in another direction. So all we have to do, my Straight Talk family, is to keep focus. There is no such thing, I repeat, as failure in life. Failure is just life trying to move us in another direction. The election of August the 5th on Friday should have also reminded us that in a democracy, the poor will have more power than the rich. The election of Friday gone should also reminded us, have also reminded us, I should say, that the will of the majority is supreme. The will of the majority, my dear family, is supreme. In St. Kitts and Nevis, there are more people, more poor people than rich ones. In St. Kitts and Nevis, there are more people lacking sufficient money to live at a standard considered comfortable or normal. On the poverty alleviation program, there are over 6,000 or 7,000 persons benefiting from that program. That in itself tells us the challenges that lie ahead. Some are too poor to handle the costs of electricity and water. The former administration suspended the disconnection program. What will this current administration do? Many people are without lights. They live in darkness. Many people are without water. Their water was disconnected. Could you imagine water being disconnected in my loving country, my loved country, St. Kitts and Nevis, or in St. Kitts? Disconnecting water? What is life? The former Minister of Public Infrastructure disconnected your life. How could that be? My straight dog family. So we'll wait and see what happens in the near future. So many lack an income source to buy food and or pay rent. So the government must as well look at the social assistance programs available. We've heard a lot of debate about the PAP. PAP would end or would not end. But time will tell how PAP will be improved. We've heard commitments to improve PAP. The outgoing administration promise, or outgoing leader promise to increase PAP by 100% by September 1st. Let us see what happens in time to come, my straight dog family. Poverty, it is said, is a crime. And the Peace Initiative is one program that has yielded so much benefit and has brought stability to a Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. What can be done to improve that program? What will be done to improve the program? There are many cases where people not only find themselves in the state of having an income that is below the line of poverty, creating the inability for them to sustain a decent, a specified level of well-being. These are some of the many challenges that lie ahead. How will we face them when the fun is done and the hard work begins? Suffice to add, the gap between the rich and the poor continues to widen. But the people have spoken, and they have spoken loud and clear. I reflected in 2015, or backwards to 2015, when the people called for a united group to lead our federation. Unfortunately, some politicians and some of our leaders misuse and abuse the wishes of the people. They use it as a means to an end to get into office. one such former leader made this comment, which is so irresponsible, but at least he purged his conscience when he said this, my straight dog family. He purged his conscience when he said this.
So in order to get rid of Denzil Douglas, we succeeded. I took that decision also because of the opportunity to change the political culture of St. Kitts and Nevis and to end the political polarization which has plagued us. I decided to support the efforts of the Team Unity Alliance. I did so in order to get rid of Denzil Douglas. We succeeded. I took that decision also because of the opportunity to change the political culture of St. Kitts and Nevis and to end the political polarization which has plagued us.
My family, that's what I mean of using the wishes of the people as a means to an end. He supported unity because he saw it as a means to get rid of Denzil Douglas. Imagine that. But the people have spoken. Now unity is no more. Because that first living national hero took a turn on the man who carried unity. And now unity is no more. And guess what? Douglas has come out laughing.
You are X for labor, for the hand. Labor's hand. Mark your X and bring victory and freedom at last. God bless you. God bless you. This might be my final speech on the platform. God bless all of you, my dear people.
Possibly his final speech on the platform. But strange but true. And we wonder why Douglas was not actually inside to witness the swearing in of our fourth Prime Minister. He obviously came on the outside for the photo opportunity. But he certainly was not on the inside because Prime Minister Jew did not recognize him. He recognized his four cabinet colleagues.
Allow me to recognize my elected members, Henley, Mr. Collins Maynard, Ms. Masha Henderson, and of course Mr. Samuel Duggins. Allow me to recognize my elected members of my party, Dr. Jeffrey Henley, Mr. Collins Maynard, Ms. Masha Henderson, and of course Mr. Samuel Duggins.
He's recognized his four members, or elected members, and Douglas was not there. But somehow he showed up for the photo op. Many people have read many things into that. But getting back to the convenience, getting back to the politicians who just use Team Unity as a vehicle of convenience to get them into the halls of power. And this had to be, this must be, this had to be improper and immoral. Because for 5 years, They pretended that all was well. For 5 years, and all was well. And no one can dispute the stellar performance of the Team Unity administration. Rehabilitation of the Island Main Road, rehabilitation of Old Road Bay. Old Road Bay was always a place, an area where danger was lurking. I recall a young man from my own area, Dennis Mully, died across Old Road Bay as a rock fell under his vehicle. So I was always motivated to do something across Old Road Bay. Although the former representative tried to claim it, but many did not know that he tried to impede it. He tried to prevent the construction with some pie in the sky idea about building an underwater hotel in Old Road Bay, in the Old Road Bay area. He promised to build the second underwater hotel in the world across Old Road Bay. And no matter you saw him put up those big billboards about coming soon when Old Road Bay was completed, he tried to prevent the construction of Old Road Bay at the time, claiming that this project he was building with an underwater hotel would address Old Road Bay. What nonsense. Remember, he tried to give away the airport as well, to turn it into an international hub. When it failed, they moved over to Nevis at the Vance Emery Airport. The vision should ask, what has become of that project that General Powell tried to move in Nevis? What is the first 5 years? We also constructed a brand new second cruise pier. And those of you who are now recognizing the parade of ships coming to St. Kitts, all the captains are demanding to use the second cruise pier. That cruise pier can accommodate 2 Oasis-class ships simultaneously. And I understand that dredging may now be completed at all the piers in the Bastia Harbour, the cargo pier, the first cruise pier, and the second cruise pier. So when all of that is done, St. Kitts would be the only country in the Caribbean, in the Eastern Caribbean, that will be able to accommodate 3 of the largest cruise ships in the world and accommodate them simultaneously. So, in the first 5 years of Team Unity, that second cruise ship was completed after 20 years of the Labour government before Team Unity. And I am humbled that I was part of that development. A brand new air-conditioned ferry terminal was also constructed. We remember the days when the thousands of people that ply between St. Kitts and Nevis had to wait for their ferries in an environment that just was not friendly. And we set about building a brand new ferry terminal that is air conditioned. and my family, we also built the East Bus Line Terminal that took the people off the road, exposed to danger on the Wellington Road, exposed to the vagaries of bad weather as well, and put them into a brand new terminal. I hope and trust that the authorities will address the issues at the East Bus Line Terminal in particular, because the West Bus Line Terminal, very customer-friendly terminal as well, is working well. Why can't the East Bus Line Terminal work as well? Traffic signals. Traffic signals has modernized and improved modernized St. Kitts and Basseterre in particular, and has increased the efficiency and effectiveness of our traffic management in downtown Basseterre. It is a shame every time I drive across Budrup that the former Minister of Infrastructure did not complete the work that was started there before his time, simply because of his friend, who apparently has shares in the Kentucky driving that messed up the traffic around there. And to date, those traffic signals across from Best Buy and Rams Wholesale going towards the Kentucky driving have not been operationalized. And whoever is the incoming Minister of Transport, that must be a priority. When we look at infrastructure and the former Minister with responsibility for infrastructure, he still has not answered many questions that we have asked here on Straight Talk. And the incoming Minister of Public Infrastructure will have to provide us some answers that we will continue to ask here on the Straight Talk. One of such questions is what has become to the lighting for Old Road Bay? The 25 lights that are missing from Old Road Bay, where have they gone? That's a question that we will continue to ask until we get answers. We will continue to ask whether the guard hut at Port Zante, constructed by the Urban Development Corporation, that was estimated at approximately $55,000 or $60,000, and lo and behold, inflated to $227,000. Why is that guard hut not completed? And what is the exact disposition of the guard hut? Very importantly as well, my Straight Talk family, I was reading the congratulatory messages from heads of government around the world. And I read a congratulatory message from the President of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, President Maduro. And we asked ourselves, or I asked myself, I should say, what has become of the Petro-Caribe agreement? The next minister with responsibility for SCELEC will have to investigate and provide answers to the country. Because unceremoniously, the Petro-Caribe agreement came to an abrupt stop without the approval of the cabinet, I understand. An award or a contract was awarded to Delta, we are told. Was the procurement or was the procurement legislation followed? Procurement of fuel cannot be done in darkness. There must be light, transparency. If you are going to procure fuel for the generation plant at Wellington Road, a unit of Skelett that imports millions of gallons of fuel over a 3-year period, then you just can't hand it to any one company. Was there a tender process? Was there a request for proposals publicly circulated? These are some of the questions that the former Deputy Prime Minister, Sean Richards, has left unanswered. And these questions deserve our answers. How could you abandon a friend in Venezuela? When we got into office, the former administration owed the Venezuelan government over $200 million. It was President Maduro, who in fact, without hesitation, provided $16 million to settle the outstanding severance payment for the sugar workers. Under the joint venture company, it was just not a trade or trading in oil. There was a social component, or there is a social component of that particular project. So questions will have to be answered in terms of the performance of Skelett. The laying of the underground cable. There was in fact a proposal that came forward years ago, about 3 years ago, to build resilience in the electricity supply or the electricity transmission area. The transmission and distribution area, I should add. Whereby we connect the Keon feeder and the Sandy Point feeder to the Bastia main. That estimate was some $20 million. All of a sudden, we heard a sudden move to an estimate of $50 million. Some $3 million all of a sudden came in to lay underground cabling in the St. Peter's area. These are lots of things, or lots of questions that ought to be answered, and we will demand answers from them or for them. Down in Sandy Point, 2 column of lights, 2 poles, just 2 poles with lighting, went to the Sandy Point playfield, costing $1 million. When in fact, in Keon, we lit an entire field with 6 columns of lights for only $1.6 million. These are questions that won't go away as long as Straight Talk will be here. And Straight Talk will be here as long as God gives me the strength and the ability to continue. Straight Talk would not be silenced in no way or form whatsoever. Straight Talk will always be on social media for those of you who are asking and sending me messages. I understand that instructions were given to cut Straight Talk from ZIZ tonight. Who gave those instructions? I don't know. But I want to remind us that our Constitution guarantees the protection of our rights, our fundamental rights and freedom. And one of such freedoms is the right to expression, free expression and association. But my family, as we continue tonight, and for those who are listening, just share the word, share the content, and let them know you can still contact us via 646-829-6672 if you are so minded to participate in the discussion tonight. But we will not be silenced. We will not be silenced, my Straight Talk family. This email reads, "Good evening, Ambassador. Hope you are doing well and remaining peaceful. I was a bit surprised at the results, but the people have spoken." Yes, the people have spoken. "I guess there'll be a lot of healing to be done. But as you say, keep moving on. Look forward to hearing Straight Talk on Monday." That was Monday gone, but for some reason, the internet failed me. But we will continue from here on every Thursday and Monday. And I can really even advise you ahead that I will have much more time on my hands. I'll come very shortly. I'll have much more time on my hands and more times to have a conversation with you. Maybe in the day, or maybe we'll continue in the night, or maybe we will extend our hours on Facebook, on YouTube, and other social media. We will improve our platforms and ensure that we spread the word all over the world. Because one program that will not be silenced is this program called Straight Up. I know that many of you have missed your radio feed. The Alices and the Dumplings and the Jam Downs and others who perhaps don't have access to the social media, but we'll get you access if you don't. So we've tried to ensure you have that radio feed so we can communicate with each other. But don't mind, that's for tonight, but we'll get it sorted out, my Straight Talk family. But as we continue, I was speaking about the projects. I believe I covered all of them, and if I missed any, forgive me. But lots of projects were undertaken, as I said. The Wellington Road housing project, that again was grant funded. Part of it was grant funded by the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. So why? How on earth did Sean Richards just decide, apparently on his own, to abandon the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela? A friend of mine over 30 years that has provided assistance for us. We spoke to the Severance Payment Fund. I didn't mention the assistance provided for our entrepreneurs to get the self-start program. I tried to remember the name, right? But we got assistance as well from Venezuela in that area and other areas, my Straight Talk family. Yet Sean Richards decided unilaterally he will say to the Petro-Carib agreement, hell no, no longer we need that. And would you believe, having taken that decision, Skelec still owes Venezuela approximately $17 million. $17 million. Yet they have abandoned the Petrocaribbean agreement and have gone to Delta. But these are questions we will continue to ask, my family. But again, there are many challenges that lie ahead, and we must face them. I mentioned earlier the Russian invasion of Ukraine, which continues and the war rages on. This has caused rising energy costs. It has impacted heavily on consumer spending in St. Kitts and Nevis. Just yesterday, the Ministry of Finance announced the retail prices of unleaded gasoline at the Delta gas stations and Sol. At Delta, as of today, is $18.03 per gallon, whereas at the Sol gas stations is just $1 less at $17.03 per gallon. Our supply chains have caused the increase in the goods that we import. And because we lack such self-sufficiency, everything goes up. Coconuts that come from the Windward Islands, a bottle has increased from $20 to $25 of nice coconut water because the freight has increased. Nevis and St. Kitts too had so many coconut trees. You understand, over there in Nevis, they have started a replanting exercise. Should we do that in St. Kitts as well? Remember all those coconut walks we had? Why should we be importing coconut water or coconuts? That should not be. We import bananas. That should not be. The Agriculture Department, under its new leadership, has a lot of work cut out. Housing. I've heard the commitment to build 2,000 houses. I made mention that 2,000 houses means we'll have to build one house per day. If you're going to build 2,000 houses in 5 years. And what is the cost of these houses? One of the things I find really unacceptable is that we throw these projects, we throw these propositions, but we don't cost them. I recall the last minister with responsibility for housing. It's now a fancy word called human settlement. But when they were allocating the houses, I heard him say that the cost to NHC for a 2-bedroom house has now moved to $225,000, moved from $165,000 by $60,000 to $225,000. And I marveled, because a house costing $165,000, much more $225,000, cannot be a low income house, as we say, or to use the nice phrase, cannot be an affordable home. And if you speak to 9 out of 10 people in St. Kitts, in particular the young people, they are in need of 2 things: jobs and housing. You can't get a house unless you have a job. So I'll put that in that order. But 9 out of 10 of them will tell you they want a house, and that's good. But how can you afford a house for $165,000, much less $225,000? That's a challenge to the new Minister of Human Settlement, to bring down the cost of housing. Move away from the blocks and steel and find innovative and effective and efficient ways to build homes. The technology is all over the world. Why can't it be imported in St. Kitts and build affordable homes for the people who are in need of housing? My family, I heard a discussion about water, and I myself was called about drilling in Keon. I want to say that since the late Sidney Morris, or before him, since the late Fitzroy Bryant, I should say, Keon has had a water problem. Sidney Morris came as a son of Keon. He did not and could not solve the problem. Then came C.G. Liburd. He did not and could not solve the problem. Then came another son of Keon, Eugene Hamilton, and he could not, and he did not solve the problem. My people, let us understand that water comes from the rain. And the prognosis as it relates to rainfall throughout the entire Caribbean is not looking good. When we got to office in 2015, there was a 55% rainfall deficit. 55%. And that's all because of climate change. Climate variability has caused less rainfall throughout the world. So why are we spending money? Why are we being so wasteful? Bede won't find water. Bede, before 2015, took years to find water. Bede had a contract to drill for water at some 400 feet and beyond below the earth. They found water in a very suspicious way. They found 2 wells suddenly. I understand that they will start work sometime shortly in Keon. Bede has signed a contract, as far as I recall, signed with the Ministry of Infrastructure under the former Minister Sean Richards in December 2020, 2 years ago. But all of a sudden, Bede now, I am told, or I listened to the water engineer Cromwell Williams. He said Bede is awaiting a motto for his drill rig to start drilling water or for water in Keon. Rain is not falling. That is why we have the issues even in East Basseterre, whereby the well field of the aquifer is being intruded for years now with salt water, this salt intrusion. That's why they had to stop pumping. Climate variability has brought sea level rise. The higher the sea level rises, the greater the saltwater intrusion in the well field. I've told you before that the Basseterre aquifer spans approximately 5 miles from Olives Mountain in the west to Beaufort's in the northeast to Canada Hills. Let me take that back. From Olives Mountain in the west to the Canada Hills in the northeast to the Connery Hills in the east. Water percolates all the way down underground because of our highly porous soil. St. Kitts has sandy loam soil, which is highly porous. It percolates underground and settles in the well field over there in Ponds, Nevis, to the east of the Kim Collins Highway. When it is saturated, then the guts start to run. And water takes some time to percolate underground. It takes time, even though we have rainfall. It just does not automatically recharge the aquifer. My family, I've advised before, and I want to advise again to the manager and water engineer, Cromwell Williams. Look towards reverse osmosis. Look towards desalination. Stop wasting time on drilling for water. Over 2/3 of the Earth's surface is covered by the sea. Our entire country is surrounded by seawater. You can't done all of it. Desalination has to be the response. There is a desalination plant lying in the valley there in Sandy Point that was brought in by the former administration, the Labour Party then, with a capacity of some 2.5 million gallons of water. I remember speaking to the representative of Sandy Point, Sean Richards, when we got into office. The idea was to really commission that plant. Then you can divert the water that comes from Franklands and so on forth that goes to Sandy Point. Divert that elsewhere. And water that comes elsewhere to Sandy Point. And Sean Richards looked at me in my eye and said that Sandy Point has no water problem. We tried to move that plant to Basseterre. It was approved in principle by the cabinet, but the funding never came from the Ministry of Finance. Look at what's happening now in Frigate Bay. Look at that. Look at what's happening in Bird Rock. Water is being rationed every day, every night, damaging our appliances, all because the then former Prime Minister and Minister of infrastructure, had no interest in the people. His interest was about himself, to get power. Colluding then with a man he never spoke, with whom he never spoke for 5 years, Mark Brantley, who pushed him to collapse the team unity government. They're now been relegated by the people who have spoken to the opposition benches. It would be interesting to see how they perform over yonder. Well, family, we go back to the war in Ukraine and the issues that we face. Issues like the supply chain. The cost of freight has, in many instances, quadrupled, has gone sky high, my family, sky high, and must be of concern to us here in the Federation, because we are not self-sufficient in many things. Is it possible, or the possible economic hardship must be of concern to us, my Street Dog family, because there is an uncertain crisis that looms over many countries in the world, including us. It's 23 minutes to the 10 o'clock hour, and for those who have just joined me, we are discussing our topic tonight. The people have spoken. And the majority of the people who spoke by their vote on August the 5th, last week, Friday, has said, hell no, the People's Action Movement and the CCM. The best thing that has happened in this country is that PAM is no longer in government. And I mean no disrespect to my many PAM friends. I've said that to you before, and I'll say it again, that I had no problem with you. I had a problem with your leadership. Caller, are you there?
Yeah, Patrick, good night.
Yes, my brother, good night. How about thou?
Good night. Again, I want to say, woe be unto them who have destroyed Team Unity.
Yes.
I pray to Almighty God that they may be haunted for the rest of their life. Team Unity was the best thing for the small island, and it would have been beneficial for the people. Secondly, I want to congratulate Dr. Timothy Harris for those prosperous years under his leadership. And I want to say to you, Dr. Harris, don't be downhearted, cheer up. You have left a wonderful and lasting legacy. Your name will be called long after you're gone. None of them going to come and do what you do for the ordinary people of this country. And as we go along, we'll find out. The God-fearing working class people of this federation will always be praying for you. You have done great things for us. Let I use this election that I could gain experience and knowledge. And what I have seen I will always remember our people must understand that the world is not the same, and we will have to work together if we are to go on with a good life. And thank God for people like Dr. Harris. In this country, we have diabolical people and we have spiritual people. We have a diabolical group and a spiritual group. And that's the war. The war is between the spiritual people and the diabolical people. And we must all understand that we will have problems as we go along. Right now, the diabolical overpower the spiritual. But it ain't going to be always so. Jehovah God can look down upon us. Thank you.
Thank you, my brother. And you've said it loud and clear. And as we said all night, that the people have spoken. And most of the people who voted have said that the group that formed Team Unity must now be relegated to the official opposition in the National Assembly. The Team Unity administration has done well. And it cannot be disputed. These are the facts. Whether they want to hear them on ZIZ radio, or if they don't want to hear them on the ZIZ radio, then you will hear them on some other radio. Because the facts cannot be concealed. It cannot be disputed that the leader of the Team Unity administration, Dr. the Honorable Timothy Sylvester Harris, helped many people to get where they wanted to go. And he provided the opportunity to them to get there. The way the economy was handled over the past 7 years was nothing else but genius. The introduction of the Poverty Alleviation Program was genius. The introduction of the Peace Initiative was genius. How many of us remembered when our young people were being swat like flies? That should be shot though, but they were swat like flies on the streets in our different communities. It took genius to introduce the Peace Initiative, and some semblance of safety and order is now in the land. The management of the COVID-19 pandemic was the action of a genius. Grasping the opportunity and effecting real change in the country was also the genius of the leadership of Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris. And perhaps that's what those in authority now did not want to hear on ZZ tonight. But the people must tell them that. And I will continue to say that. If and when Dr. Joe, or Prime Minister Joe, do things that are considered genius, I will say so. I will say so. So he need not fear. He need not fear. Because, as I said before, on Saturday, the 6th of August 2022, Dr. Terence Michael Jew was sworn in as the 4th Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis. And we wish him well, we congratulate him. The fact is that he is now our Prime Minister. Justice Trevor Ward administered the oath of allegiance.
Dr. Terence Michael Drew,
Do swear that I will faithfully bear true allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. Do swear
that
I will faithfully bear true allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II,
to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II,
her heirs and successors, according to law. So help me God.
Justice Ward then administered the oath of office.
I, Dr. Terence Michael Drew, do swear that I will honor, uphold and preserve the Constitution of St. Christopher and Nevis, and the law. That I will conscientiously, impartially, and to the best of my ability, discharge my duties as Prime Minister of the Federation of St. Christopher and Nevis, and do right to all manner of people, without fear or favor, affection or ill will. So help me God.
This was followed by the oath of secrecy, also administered by Justice Trevor Ward.
Now administer the oath of secrecy. I, Dr. Terence Michael Drew, do swear that I will not on any account, at any time whatsoever, disclose any counsel, advice, opinion or vote given by any minister of the cabinet, and that I will not, except with the authority of the cabinet, and to such extent as may be required, for the proper conduct of the government, of St. Christopher and Nevis, directly or indirectly, reveal the business, or proceedings of the cabinet, or any matter coming to my knowledge, as a member of the cabinet. So help me God.
Now, as I said before, and as we wind down tonight's programming, I am not afraid to say that I have gone on record, and some did not like it, but I said it. I said that I love Dr. Drew. I sang at his wedding. His father, Mick Stokes Heiliger, is my friend. We played music together for years, Mick and I. But I also said that I did not believe that he has the experience to lead the Federation at this time. A time that's filled with complexity, unpredictability, and uncertainty. And when I reflected on how Dr. Drew became Prime Minister and how the Labour Party got resurrected. It's a very interesting story that we must follow. Dr. Drew contested the elections of 2015 and 2020 and lost on both occasions to Eugene Hamilton. But in his third election bid, just last week Friday, his third election bid in 2022, the people have spoken loud and clear, and he is now the Prime Minister, the fourth Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis. So upon reflection, I have therefore recognized that many people are rejected for a position simply because they are lacking in experience. And while I agree that experience matters, I ask myself though, how does one get experience if he or she is not given an opportunity to get the necessary exposure? Well, the people have spoken, and I believe for that simple reason, the Federation must now give Prime Minister Drew some time to settle down, and some time to get the necessary exposure. It's now his honeymoon, but there are many challenges that lie ahead. And in the process, he must consider the golden opportunity given to him to first unite the country and not divide the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. He must tell his supporters that there is no need to be angry. There is no need to be provocative and in a mood always to fight. Instead, they must rejoice, help to build. They must enjoy the victory, yes, but they must also understand and help to join, to address the challenges, the many challenges that lie ahead. Dr. Drew, or Prime Minister Drew, must find workable solutions for our country that is experiencing high gas prices and inflation. In the process, he must also promote self-reliance and less dependence upon government. In his maiden speech, I listened to him, amongst other things. He committed to extend a hand to Nevis and to solve and resolve some of these issues. And there are many issues to be resolved. But I'm not optimistic, because the constitutional reform that is required will be difficult to implement with the numbers as disposed in the next parliament, which we hope would resume or reconvened shortly. How can we get the necessary reform? Is a $1 million question. I've heard the Prime Minister Drew speak to corruption, and those are not words one should use loosely. Unless you can point to corruption, then don't speak about corruption. I spoke about corruption tonight, and I pointed to it. I pointed to the perceived corruption at UDC. I made mention of the guard hut. I pointed to the perceived corruption at Skellig. I pointed before, long ago, to the perceived corruption of the former minister who signed a contract for $20 million US at Glen Valley for a golf course. But there's no golf course. So where has the money gone? That to me is supporting what people believe is perceived corruption. So when you talk about corruption, Prime Minister, please to bring the facts. And yes, there ought to be investigations of everything and everyone who is perceived to be corrupt. But please, do not use such words lightly. It is easier said than done to extend the hand to Nevis and solve and resolve the issues. Perhaps with a different premier, not this one. This premier in Nevis, this current premier, is looking handouts. St. Kitts must give Nevis, under any premier, a hand up and not a handout. Because Nevis, yes, must get its fair share. But its fair share must be on the basis. Its fair share must be on the basis of the current laws in our country. And I speak in particular of my straight dog family, of the Constitution. And the Constitution is very clear. It is very clear, my straight dog family, and it's instructive. The Constitution tells us how to allocate the revenue from St. Kitts, of St. Kitts and Nevis. The PLP advanced its proposal to entertain bodies like the World Bank to come in and look at that really contentious issue of revenue allocation. And my straight dog family, we have to take it seriously and not just talk. Just talk about it. We have to take it seriously. Yes, I said Nevis must get its fair share. But Prime Minister Drew, you cannot capitulate to the Mark Brantley's cockeyed view about CBI not being revenue or not being tax revenue. Yes, the Constitution speaks to tax revenue. But tax revenue or non-tax revenue that goes into the consolidated fund, it's revenue. Revenue is revenue. Non-tax revenue or tax revenue are just economic classifications. So do not be fooled by Mark Brantley's proposition about CBI revenue. As I said before, his position borders on absurdity. It is so downright nonsensical an argument. But yes, he must get his fair share. But he must teach him the lesson as well, that he must learn to balance his budget. For the 4 consecutive years as Premier, beg your pardon, Mark has never balanced his budget. Mark was expecting to be called upon to join with Pam, a party that did not win. According to him, they had real unity. The people said otherwise. So Labour does not need Mark Brantley. The premature election triggered by PAM and CCM was the worst possible outcome for Brantley. Now, Prime Minister Joe, you must deal with Nevis through the letter of our supreme law, which is our Constitution. Make no mistake, be guided by the Constitution and Section 110, which is abundantly clear. Prime Minister Joe. As for Pam, Sean Richards have taken this party outside the tent. He's moved away from the dinner table. One couldn't imagine that someone is inside the house where he gets his dinner, but he leaves for months. Inside a cabinet where he's part of a collective decision-making body, but he leaves for months. Some trivial matter about his name in some police report, wanting to change the course of justice in our country. And as I said before, and as I wind down tonight, to my PAM friends, I have nothing personally against you. Some of you got offended because I spoke about Sean Richards. And I said to you that his leadership is not good for PAM. PAM had no leader. That's why they lost 3 seats. Well, let's say 2 because Eugene moved on. But he had 4 seats. He now has 1. And he must be asked to relinquish the leadership. But to give to whom? But Sean Richards was always bad for PAM. I looked at him, but he went down the wrong road. And we'll hear much more of that. When they said PAM wanted their identity, when the living national hero talked about so much garbage, and PAM has 4 seats and not in control, PAM control all of the statutory corporations, all of the boards they control. I listed them out for you tonight. They dominated all those boards and the salaries that went with them. But my family, they gave away the government, and in time will tell. And as my brother and friend Bractor said tonight, woe be unto them. Because the election has reminded all of us of the words from the book of Isaiah, chapter 33 and verse 1 to be exact. And I like the New International Version, I think it is, that goes something like this. When we have finished destroying, we will be destroyed. And when we have finished betraying, we will be betrayed. My good friend Bractus said it this way.
Whoa! be unto those who destroy the immunity.
Yes, my straight dog family, woe be unto those who destroyed the immunity. The election has reminded us, as I said before, my family, when you have finished destroying, we will be destroyed. When you have finished betraying, you will be betrayed. My straight dog family, we will learn, hopefully, by our mistakes. We will learn, my straight dog family, by our mistakes. One more time I'll say, when we will have finished destroying, we will be destroyed. And when we have finished betraying, we will be betrayed. Betrayed, my straight dog family. That's my story for tonight, and I'm not going to change it. But I want to thank Almighty God for guiding our conversation tonight. And as always, I want to thank you who have listened. Those of you on social media in particular. I understand that instructions were given to discontinue the radio broadcast on our radio station, the People's Radio Station. Station belonging to you and I, my family. I understand that instructions were given to discontinue our broadcast tonight. But we'll hear much more about that. But I can assure you that nothing will ever stop Straight Talk. Because I am a strong proponent of our freedoms, our fundamental rights and freedom. As one was born, raised, and still live in St. Kitts and Nevis, no one will take my freedoms away. I say to you, in due course, in the not too distant future, I will have more time on my hands to communicate with you. And perhaps Straight Talk will go back to the daytime. But I'll keep you posted on that. So until we connect on Monday for another edition of Straight Talk, my people, be good to yourselves and to all whom you meet. And remember that whatever your mind conceive, that you will achieve. But first of all, you must believe. So when you wake in the morning, thank God for the morning light. Thank Him for taking you through the night. And my Straight Dog family, keep moving on. Bye-bye. Until we connect on Monday, have yourselves a wonderful weekend. Keep moving on.
The morning, I thank God for the morning light. Give Him thanks and praises for taking me safely through the night. For the rest of food and loving care, brethren kind and